Hey, hi everyone. I'm Harlan. This is Chase.
Everyone.
We're here at TheBrain Technologies in our studio, and we'd like to talk a little bit today about our new web client, which is codenamed Project Vulcan. It's a brand new technology that we're really excited about. It's been out there in the public now for about a month, and the reaction from the users has been really good. And we internally couldn't be more pleased with how it's turned out. Vulcan is a complete rebuild of the kind of front end of the brain and we're using brand new web technologies to do it. So it's really the first time ever that we've been able to deliver what we consider a first-class experience using the brain directly in the browser. The way that it works has been reimagined from the ground up. What we tried to do is, instead of kind of replicating old technologies or the way that old technologies worked, we rebuilt and redesigned everything so that it's best suited to the web and mobile and all of the different platforms that we want to deliver a good experience on. So yeah, you can access Vulcan at vulcan.thebrain.com. Soon it will replace the regular web app. So as soon as you go to app.thebrain.com or you log in from our site, you'll see Vulcan. And it works on desktop machines, Linux, Mac OS, and
Even your
Windows,
car.
of course. Even your car, indeed. Yes. If you're lucky enough to have a car that has a web browser in it, it does indeed work there. And then, of course, phones and tablets. The phone experience is vastly improved.
Mm-hmm.
It's really the first time that you can effectively use a brain on the web from your phone. And I think it's so good that it's actually approaching and in some ways exceeding the apps that are available for the phone. So
Absolutely. It doesn't feel like a compromise anymore, as far as web versus desktop client. It feels like a very unified, nice experience on all devices.
exactly. So yeah, so that's what we were trying to do, and I think we've really accomplished that goal. So kind of the first phase of this new project has been focused on making the experience as seamless as possible and as perfect as possible for people who are just navigating and viewing brains. So it should be an ideal way to share your content. Up until now, it's been a little bit tricky to share your content for a brain. You had to convince somebody to install the software,
The high barrier.
and then sync your brain and download it and all that stuff. Now it's going to be as simple as just sending them a link. They click on the link, and wherever they are, it's going to open up, and they'll be able to see everything just like you had set it up for them. So it's really a new era in terms of the brain and sharing. And we're going to show a little bit of that as we get on into this conversation a little further. But yeah, so today is going to be the first conversation that we'll have about Vulcan. We're going to try and focus on basically all of the reading or viewing experiences in the brain.
Mm-hmm.
And then later on, we'll have another discussion about authoring and some of the more advanced topics. So yeah, let's get started.
Let's jump in.
Okay, so here we are on the Brain's web client login. And I'm just going to click right here. Oh, before I log in, I should point out that there are kind of demo brains available right here on the home page. So it gives people a way to kind of see what it's all about before they get started. And if you go ahead and log in, what you'll see is your brains appear immediately on the display. These are all the brains that you have synced from your computer. Obviously, anything that's local to your machine wouldn't be available here. But anything that you had synced to the cloud previously is going to automatically show up in Vulcan. And any changes that you make in Vulcan will sync down to your brain and vice versa. The list that I see here is a handful of kind of my main brains that I'm using quite often, including my own kind of primary brain. And then this brain, which we're going to start off in, is our knowledge base for the brain. which is a public brain that you can go and check out yourself. So I'll click to open the brain. You can see it opened very quickly. And now we are seeing the traditional brain interface with the Plex over here on the left and the content area over here on the right. When I click on a thought, it activates the thought and rearranges just like you'd expect. And you'll notice that the animation and so forth is maybe smoother than you've seen before. The way we've accomplished this is by leveraging, as I said, kind of the web technologies that have been advancing rapidly over the last few years. So there's a lot of things that you're going to find are pretty nice and a kind of a great experience in terms of just pure navigation. But beyond kind of the animation, you might notice some other tweaks. First of all, there's no pins and past thoughts at the top and bottom of the screen. I think the result is significantly cleaner. There's less distractions, but when you do want to go in and jump into a particular area of a brain, first of all, no matter where you are, let me go somewhere. I can always get back to kind of the entry point of a brain, or what we call the home thought, by clicking on this button up here at the top left. That's going to be the brain icon and the name of the brain, and that will always bring me back here. In addition to that link, you can also click on the pins menu to open the pins. So these were the items that were normally you might see at the top of your screen. We have them in this pop-up menu here, which lets us show them even if you're on a mobile device or you have a very long list, it can scroll and all that kind of stuff. It's a lot more flexible. As you can see, it supports word wrap, so you don't have things cut off. There's a lot of advantages to it, and it's also kind of a more familiar interface for a lot of people in terms of being able to get to the top areas of a brain. Similarly, we have the list of types and tags, and you can search in those and filter the list just like you could in on the desktop. One of the other nice little things that you might notice as we're clicking through this is that some of the thoughts are italicized, and those italicized thoughts represent thoughts that we've visited during this session with the brain. So it makes it really easy for somebody who's trying to get an overview of your brain and visit various areas to know which parts they have looked at already and which parts they still haven't gone to. Yeah.
And the back button works.
The back button, yes. An important innovation from many, many years ago that was not supported on the brain in the browser up until now. So, yeah. As I click the back button here, you can see it's jumping through everything that I've gone through. I can keep going back all the way until I get back to the brains list. But yeah, one of the things that we were unhappy with about the kind of previous generation of web technology was that it kind of broke the back button and did some unexpected things that were really difficult to fix. So we just restarted from scratch. And this was one of the key things that we wanted to make sure worked perfectly in this new version. So yeah, so you can go back and you can go forward, and yeah, and the address bar also functions just like you'd expect it to, meaning that you can copy whatever link is in the address bar, send it to someone, and they're gonna go just right to where you were when you copied that link.
As long as your brain is public and you want to share it with someone.
Exactly, yes. If your brain is not public and you send them that link, it's going to ask them to log in. And if they log in and they're not you, or you haven't given them access, it will just say, oh, I can't find that. There's nothing there. Another way to share a link to a thought in a brain is with the share button right here. And if I click that, it's going to create a short link, a shortened version of this link, and put it on the clipboard, and I can then paste that into an email or send it in a text message or tweet it or whatever, and that will function the same way as the longer version of the link up here. The other things that I want to show here, sharing. Oh yeah, okay. So so what we've been looking at so far is kind of the default layout if you happen to open the Brain up on a wide screen, which is kind of the typical setup, I would say. But if you're on a phone, okay, so I just opened up the Google Chrome, what is this thing called? Developer tools.
Exactly.
So this is so that I can simulate being on a phone. So when I click this button, it's now set this up as if it's an iPhone 12 Pro. And you can see I've still got the Plex here, and the content area is down below. And I can scroll to alter between these two. This is one of my favorite changes to this new version of the Brain, because it really does allow you to have kind of like the full real estate of your phone, which is a small screen, of course, dedicated to being able to view your thoughts. But at the same time, I can jump down and seamlessly transition to a full screen view of the content. So this is a really great usage of screen real estate, and you don't have to think about it, right?
Absolutely. Infinite scrolling.
Infinite scrolling, indeed. So, yeah. The other things in terms of the layout of the Plex that I want to show are that it will automatically switch between kind of a top on Plex on top, content area on the bottom, to side by side, kind of depending on how you have things oriented. So if I exit out of here, you can see it switches back to side by side. And then if I just resize the browser, it's also going to switch, right? So you don't have to be on a phone to have it used top to bottom. And likewise, I can also switch by altering the Plex location setting, right? So the automatic setting is the one that's going to put it side by side or top to bottom, depending on the aspect ratio of your browser. And then you can also just say, I want to force it to be on top, or I want to force it to be on the left. So when you're sharing your Brain, however you have this set up, is going to be how your audience will see the content. So the next thing we should probably talk about is perhaps slightly controversial, which is the text-only view. So of course, all of us here at the Brain love the Plex, and we think it's the greatest thing ever. But we also recognize that some people are going to find that to be confusing, right?
Especially maybe someone that you've shared your Brain with that doesn't already know about the Brain and what
Yes.
Plex represents. Makes it a lot easier for someone to get started viewing the information that you want them to without them needing to necessarily be familiar with the software.
Right. So if I just click this button right here, it's going to turn off the Plex and kind of reorganize everything into a more conventional navigation methodology. So I've now got sort of the content that I'm looking at in the center of the screen, and the child thoughts are down below, right? Actually, you know what? I'm going to switch to a different Brain real quickly so that we can see kind of a more literal interpretation of children and parents. This is a Brain that the team here, somebody has been working on it, and it is a example of how you can use the Brain for genealogy and a family that a lot of people are familiar with. So here we've got King Charles. I'm going to go up to Elizabeth II here. And of course, in the Brain, the parents are on the top, the children are down below, and then the jump thoughts, in this case, the husband is on the left, right? So when I go to the text-only view, what you're going to see is that, again, the children appear down below, and then over on the left, we have the parent thoughts and the siblings with the jump down below. So the jump is represented with this little kind of arrow pointing to the left, indicating that it's a jump. And then the parent thoughts are not indented. So this shows that George VI is Queen Elizabeth's parent, and she has a sister, Princess Margaret. So if I click through here, you can see that I'm able to kind of go through these two siblings with a single click. It's kind of going to be reminiscent of a typical website navigation, where you've got the navigation bar on the side, and then kind of the further paths for where you are kind of down below, right? And this layout also is designed to work well on mobile. So if I jump back to my handy dandy developer tools mode, you can see here we're on Charles. Let's go back up to Queen Elizabeth. So now all the content about Queen Elizabeth is here, and her children are here, and then the parents appear below the children. So the coloring of the background here is designed to help you differentiate, or designed to help the viewer differentiate kind of how things are connected. So Elizabeth II is on this dark background, and the children thoughts are also on this dark background. And the thinking behind that is basically that the children are kind of part of the current thought, and so they're on the same background, whereas the parents are kind of one level removed, one level higher up, I guess, and so they appear kind of separated. So that's the quick overview of the text-only view, and you can jump in between the text-only view and the conventional Plex view, or not conventional, but to the users of the brain, conventional view by clicking on the icon here of the eye, which turns on and off the visual map of the Plex. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about the content area. You can see as I've been clicking through here, we've been seeing these kind of Wikipedia previews, and this is just a standard attachment with a link to Wikipedia. But when the new web client renders attachments, what it will do is, if there is a single attachment associated with a thought, it's going to show special links like YouTube and Wikipedia, Twitter, Vimeo, and maybe a few others in the future, rendered directly inside of the content, or embedded inside of the content. So actually, I'm going to jump over to our Space Brain to show another example of how that works. So this is another public brain that you can check out directly from the homepage. So here we have a brain about space, and I want to go to space organizations. Let's say here's NASA. Let me demonstrate the search technology here.
Good opportunity.
Oh, I think we forgot actually to mention that the past thoughts list has been moved into the search area.
I believe we did.
Yeah. So glad we did this. When you click up into the search area, not only are you going to be able to type to search things, you can also see recent searches that you've done and recent thoughts that you've clicked on. So instead of the kind of past thoughts list taking up space in the Plex itself, it now appears whenever you go to do a search. So I can jump back to any topic that I was previously on by clicking through there, right? I can also go in here and do a search. So I'll just click here to go back to the search for Falcon. And you can see here's Falcon 9, which is the current kind of workhorse of the industry, which is connected under SpaceX. And the place I want to go to show, excuse me, more about embedded content is under Falcon Heavy. So here's Falcon Heavy. We can see that it has the Wikipedia preview here. And there are also some other thoughts here connected, which have YouTube links connected. So when I click on the Falcon Heavy test flight thought, this is a YouTube attachment, and it shows right inside of the content area, and I can click and start playing it. So yeah, this is a really great capability because it enables you to share a lot of different video content, kind of reorganize the way that you want it, and you can kind of direct people to view whatever you want to share with them, and have it in context of all of the other content that it's related to, whether it's a PDF document or some notes that you made or other videos, right?
Yeah. Unlike the old web client too, you can view most of the content that you're attaching to your thoughts directly in the content area instead of having to leave, the entire web client in a new tab or new window. Keep it in the context that you need it.
Yes, yes. So yeah, so that also applies to images and PDFs and things like that. And of course, for standard attachments, like if I had a link to SpaceX, for example, that's going to open the website in a separate tab. Or if I had a file attachment of some kind other than a PDF document, when you click on that file, it would go ahead and download that to the user's local computer. Right? I don't think there's any examples of that in here, but yeah. But yeah, you can see that the notes render also very, very well inside of the web client, including links that you have in them, links to other thoughts, images, and in fact, even if you have a YouTube video inside of your notes, like as a link,
Great.
You can have multiple YouTube videos inside of a note, which is pretty nice.
Also added this nice little hero thought icon feature here to kind of give you a quick preview of what you're looking at without having to, necessarily hover over the thought icon, just to kind of show you where you are.
Yeah, this is a this is a cool thing that I almost forgot about. But yeah, if you attach a large image to a thought as its icon, the Plex will allow you to mouse over and view those images, just like you're used to in the desktop software. But also, when you turn on the option to show hero images, and that's a term from I don't know where from, but publishing or design of some kind.
Yes, exactly. I know it from web development type stuff. I'm sure it's pre-existed.
Yeah. So yeah, it's going to show those thought icons in addition to being attached in the Plex. It also is going to show a version of that image at the top of the content area. So yeah, it makes for a nice, much more visual brain, in fact.
Do you want to quickly cover those options, places you can turn that on and off, and
sure, yeah,
that might be there?
Yeah, that's a good idea. So we kind of already talked about a few of these, but inside the Brain's settings dialog box here, we have a lot of other things that you can alter. The hero image option that we've been talking about is down here at the bottom. So if I uncheck that, you'll see that that image is no longer there, and you can turn it on and off, right? So a few of the other things that are in here, we're going to save gradient layout for the end of the discussion, but before we get to covering everything else here, show visualization just toggles Plex on and off, just like the icon, the eye icon in the top right there. We can also toggle straight links and so forth. The animation speed, of course, lets you change how quickly the animation occurs when you navigate between thoughts. And then the wander delay, we'll demonstrate wander a little later, but that's just like on the desktop. So you can set how long the Plex will stay at each thought as it navigates automatically. I guess the last one that we should explain a little bit is this reuse tab when opening URL attachments. If you set that, then each time I click to open a attachment, instead of opening a new tab, it's going to replace that previous tab so that the viewer is not left with hundreds of open tabs if they've been playing around in your brain a lot. Okay, yeah, a few other things that we haven't touched on before we get into the Radiant layout, which we'll kind of save till the end here. The way that the interface itself renders, I guess the theme they call it maybe, that will automatically follow whatever the user's operating system is. So right now, that's the setting I've got for my account. But if I wanted to change that, I could say I want to use a light theme, and now the whole user interface is going to update to follow that. And then, so this is the brain settings dialog, and the other one is the user settings. So let's talk about that a little bit. The brain settings are things that are specific to a brain and kind of go with that brain. So whatever changes I make here only apply to this brain, whereas the user settings, which are accessed through the user icon here, are things that are particular to my account, right? And we won't go through all these, but just to kind of give you an idea of what's in here, you can take a look, and we're still rapidly developing this, so it's gonna change pretty quickly.
It's also one other very important thing in that menu, which is send feedback. We'd love to hear what you think about this and the improvements that we've made, and any feature requests or things you'd like to see, because that's something that's quite important to us. And there's been a lot of good user suggested things that have made it in very quickly. So
yeah,
keep it coming.
Yeah, absolutely. The development process for Vulcan has been pretty exciting in terms of like just being able to incorporate things from users quite rapidly.
Yes.
And we're really learning a lot from you guys. So please keep it coming, and don't be shy about jumping in there. Okay, let's talk about Radiant Layout. Radiant Layout is a brand new way of organizing information in the Plex. And as you'll see, it's quite a bit of a departure from the conventional layout. So to get to the Radiant Layout, what you do is go into your settings and check this box. And what you'll see is that as soon as you do, everything reorganizes based on the interconnections between the thoughts and how those interconnections are affecting each set of thoughts. So basically, it's a simulation of physics using kind of attraction and repulsion. So when things are connected, they get attracted to each other, and when they're not, they push apart from each other. And then it also takes into consideration whether things are parents or children. So you still maintain kind of that linear organization of information that can help you kind of orient things. As I click through here, what you'll see is that the display is constantly reorganizing itself, and I can kind of drag and drop to put things in the places where I would like them on my screen. So this is kind of a nice, convenient feature. But the place where this layout really starts to come into its own is that not only can I move things around, but I can also decide that I would like to expand and kind of add to what's on screen without moving, right? So in this example here, I am on SpaceX, and I want to go and find out more about Vulcan 9. So when I mouse over this thought, you can see there's a few different controls here. And the plus control allows me to expand this thought. And now I can see SpaceX plus everything was connected to SpaceX plus everything that's connected to Falcon 9. So I can kind of continually do this until I've got everything on screen that I want to see, right? So now I've got Falcon 9, which is a reusable launch vehicle. And once I open that up, I can see, oh, this has brought the space shuttle into the view here, and that's connected to NASA. And NASA is an organization just like SpaceX. and reusable launch vehicle is a space technology. And I can click here to open other space technologies, right? So I can continually kind of build this view until I've got everything that I want to see on screen. And it's just a really nice way to be able to get as much complexity as you want and really see a much deeper view in terms of how things are interconnected.
Yeah, it's a nice way to visualize those connections that you might miss, that are not immediately obvious in a normal layout. But kind of like that example you mentioned with the space shuttle, it's really cool to visually see where that connects and find all these interesting connections that you otherwise might not notice.
Right. Yeah. And this is really kind of like the first pass at this view. So you can expect that it's going to get better. One of the things that you might notice right away is like, oh, I want to kind of zoom out, right? And don't worry, it's coming.
Although I do think that the Plex text size applies to this as well, doesn't it?
You can change the Plex text size, but yeah, you can't zoom out yet. So that's coming soon. So one of the other things that you might want to take advantage of when you're using the Radiant layout is jumping into presentation mode, which will allow you to take full advantage of all the real estate available on your screen. And this works not only for the Radiant layout, but also for every other way you can navigate through your brain. So the presentation view is much like you had on the desktop, except that now you can do it directly from the browser, right? So if you wanted to show your brain to somebody without any distractions, you just right-click, open that presentation view or the presentation mode, and it's going to expand to take over the whole screen. You can use this to to talk about your brain. So I think we've kind of covered a lot of stuff today. Most of the content or most of the functionality for viewing. The last thing that we'll finish off here is with the wander functionality, which is kind of a fun function that will allow the brain to just kind of pre-associate, I guess. So yeah, this is a nice thing from the desktop that we've been able to replicate directly inside of the web client. So
Pairs nicely with the presentation mode as well.
it does, yeah. And if you have the hero images on, that's also going to work really nicely. Well, I think that's a pretty good overview of kind of the of the viewing and sharing capabilities of the new web client. Hopefully this has been informative for everyone, and we'll see you on the next one.
Till next time.
Thanks.